3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Welcome back to TTMTrades. Currently up to 2,800 followers. Again, I deeply appreciate every single one of you. Today we're going to be doing our top 3 for the week, which would be ticker CRMD, CVM, BDR, and PLG. So we're going to jump right into it. For ticker CRMD, we'll look at this on a weekly basis for a more big picture. But as you can see here, was on this downtrend. It bottomed out at 17 cents on pretty high volume. Bottomed out at 9,300,000 shares, and then immediately you can see some accumulation, which topped out right at 30 cents with some immediate profit taking the selling off, and then they dipped back down to that 17-cent range for a double bottom. And if you notice, the candlesticks, they look like dojis and or hammers, but this time when they dipped back into that 17-cent range, it was on pretty low volume, right around 2.5 and 2.9 million shares. So you got to dip down the first time in the 17 cent on 9 million shares, which shows a lot of selling in that price range. And then again, when it dips back down into that area for a double bottom, it's on way less volume at around 2.5 million shares. And then you get the hammer and or doji candlesticks. So this pretty much forms a double bottom. So immediately, and what that shows is when you come back down for the double bottom, if it's on a very light volume the second go around, then that shows that there's not a lot of selling in that general price range anymore. And then as you can see, that was on 2 weeks straight. It tested that area on very low volume, and then the following week 13 million shares, and this was immediately pushed up all the way up to 39.8 cent, where it topped that out, and then it began pulling back here on some low decrease in volume, and now is beginning to trend on this 10-period moving average. So again, a couple things I look at. This one has the potential to push up to 33 cent, right where this line of support is at. The line of support was at here, and then the line of support was at here, line of resistance was for here, and then again now it's acting like resistance again. So big thing I will watch is for this to continue to push up. As you can see, it's pushing up with the volume increase on every push every week. So I would look for a push from 28 cent to 33 cent. Try to make your entry right around 26 cent where the 10-period moving average is at. But a push from 28 to 33 cent for easily 10 to 11% return. And if you break above that 33 cent on high volume, then your next line of resistance is right here at 46 cent, right where this old channel was at, acting as resistance. And then when it finally broke through, it came down and found that area of support before finally breaking through altogether. So two immediate areas of profit taking is right around 33 cent and 46 cent for ticker CRMD. And then just looking at this one on a daily chart, as you can see here, it had that nice run up, topped out at that 39.8 cents we talked about, and then as it began pulling back, you see the volume was decreasing on the pullback, showing that the selling was drying up. And then immediately, as you can see, the buying volume began to increase like a step ladder. So it should continue to increase, showing that buying interest is pushing to those test areas right around 33 and 44 to 46 cent, where we said that next line of resistance was at. All right, next up, what did we say? We said took a CVM. All right, so looking at ticker CVM, as you can see here, you had this large sell-off right here on 9 million shares, and then immediately the following week 1.9 million shares, and then following that week 10 million shares accumulated to push this up roughly to a high of $1.30. So this one looks like this one wants to continue up and possibly try to make another run. Now looking big picture, you can see that you have $1.40 sitting over right at right where the 1 standard deviation bottom Bollinger Band is at. at $1.40 is its immediate resistance on the weekly. Now if we zoom in on the daily, looking at the daily again, that gap down with that large selling volume, high spiking volume, a lot of selling, a lot of selling, a lot of selling, but some buying at the same time. This is why you got this bottom wick right here, right at 83 cents with some accumulation, pushed up to 99 cents, and then again when it pulled back to that 83 cents again, it was on very low volume to show that the sellers were exhausted and there weren't many left in that price range. So again, it dipped down to that 83 cents on 2 million shares with some buying. That's why you got that wick right here with a nice run up to 99 cents, and then when it pulled back to that 83 cent range again, that was only on 463,000 shares to show that the sellers were exhausted and there weren't many left in that price range, just like we talked about on the last ticker. And then following that, you had this large spike in buying volume because it showed the weakness in the sellers to further try to push this down. And now with that large spike in volume, you have some sideways consolidation, which shows some profit taking and some new buyers possibly coming in with the way this one is forming, kind of like a flag pennant right here. So I would look for some more sideways consolidation. I would utilize the 10-period moving average as support right at 98 cents. As you can see, it's beginning to curl to try to keep up with the trend. If it continues to hold above that 98 cents, then like we said, we're looking at $1.24 as the immediate area of resistance on the daily. And then on the weekly, we were showing $1.40, which would possibly correlate with this area here, right where this base is formed at, which makes perfect sense on the weekly. So immediately $1.24 immediate resistance, and then $1.40, which correlates to this old area of support, which you would have to possibly break through first before you start looking at trying to push back up into these highs and fill this gap. So if you can get in at $1 even, knowing that 98 cents will possibly hold, and get a push up to $1.24, that's an easy 24% gain. And if you can run it up to that $1.40, that's easily 40% gain. So I would keep an eye on this one also, but make sure that 98 cent continues to hold as an immediate line of support. Next we got ticker BDR. All right, so looking at ticker BDR, so I was looking at this one and on the weekly, and I was trying to get an idea of where this one was pushing up to. It has some great momentum behind it, but as you can see, when it pushes up, it never holds. It immediately sells off each time. Sell off, sell off, sell off, sell off. But as you can see here, there is some accumulation behind it. So you have this high spike in volume to show some accumulation with some trending upwards, and then as it began to pull back, it was on very low volume, so that just shows that that's profit taking. And then again, a fresh wave of buyers came in, ran this up again, two high volume spikes of some profit taking. Again, it began to pull back on very light volume, which just shows weak hands or profit takers exiting the stock, locking in their profits and leaving. And now you can see that the volume is beginning to try to pick back up, and it's just trying to push back into its old highs. Now, seeing that it's currently at this high of $1.50 to $1.52, where it's been topping out at, I had to go out to the monthly to get an idea of where this one was possibly trying to push back up to, because it has some great momentum behind it. So going out to the monthly, you can see that you have this double bottom pattern. As you can see here, it dipped down to that 28 to 30 cent range, ran up to $1.10, then it pulled back down to 38 cents. So you get this W pattern here, and now it's beginning to run back up. So it's possibly trying to push back into these highs over here of right around 220. Yeah, where that topped out at. And then I would probably say right around 220 to 280. So I would keep an eye on this one. Good momentum behind it with some accumulation. As far as volume, I will watch to see if this one pushes up into that high of 220 and or up to 280 where it's topping out at. Now looking at this on a daily, because we are looking at a monthly chart, as you can see here, it is starting to trend upwards. As you can see here, this consolidation period here in this area was on very low volume, so that shows consolidation where buyers are coming in and buying shares. at a cheap price, and then finally it had the breakout, and now you can see the bands are beginning to turn outward to show that this is possibly going to start a new uptrend into those price ranges that we were just talking about. So we'll definitely keep an eye on this one, but it does have some great momentum behind it. And then last but not least, ticker PLG. Now I brought this one up quite some time ago. Let's see if I can find it. I've been saying keep an eye on this one for quite some time. Let's see if I can find it in the chat. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah, so back on June 8th, about a month ago, as you can see, I said PLG is on an ugly downtrend, but there's something brewing. That was back on June 8th, right here in this area. You know, I said it's on an ugly downtrend, but something is brewing. I could see that there was some slight accumulation coming into play. And then finally you had this last minute high volume dip down to 8 cents, which showed the sellers exiting in the masses, right around 8 million shares. On average, it was trading at about 800,000 to maybe 1 million shares. And then finally you get this high spike up to 8 million shares, which shows that all the sellers dumped that wanted to get out, and this shows that all the sellers are exhausted. So, you know, once you see something like that, immediately some buying, and then you get some sideways accumulation, and you got a nice breakout here up to 13 cents. Now, even though I mentioned this back on June 8th and it had this small breakout for a possible 20 to 30% gain, I would still keep an eye on this one, because again, right here at about 17 million shares, you get this high spike in volume, which shows a lot of selling. Again, there's no bottom weight to show that there was some buying behind it. So immediately this pushed down to its low and closed at its low, which shows a lot of selling. So again, this could be sellers getting exhausted and getting out of the stock. I know if I was a short seller riding this one down and then they had this high volume spike like this, that would probably scare me to get out of the stock. So a lot of shorts are probably getting out, covering their shares and getting out. All the sellers who wanted to sell are probably getting out. And now with this up-down movement, I normally call this a shakeout, kind of like shaking a wet towel, getting all the water out. I normally call this a shakeout, and it's shaking out all the weak hands and all the sellers that are left within the stock, and it's kind of forming a sideways consolidation pattern. So I will continue to watch this one. Current support is sitting right here at 9 cents, where the bands are telling us. And that 9 cents correlates to this bottom right here area where the price action dipped down, and then you get these lower wicks where the buying was occurring, then finally it broke out and then it pulled back. So I would probably watch for entry right around 9 cents, and I would keep a tight stop loss right below that, right around, I mean, whatever you choose is your account, but I keep a tight stop loss right below that 9 cents. As you can see, the bands are beginning to constrict, showing that this is a low volatility area and that there's a possible breakout here soon. So there could be some potential profits, some big gains in this one. But like I said, I'll try to make an entry right around that 9 cents. If you can't, if it begins to push down and you see that there's a lot of accumulation and the volume begins to pick up, trending up like a sideways step ladder, then I would probably go ahead and make that entry right around 10 while it's under consolidation, and then wait for the breakout to the upside and then offload my shares. Now, some immediate areas of resistance I do see is right here at 12 cents, where that top band is at, where this old area of support was at. And then next would be right here, right around 16 cents, where this old area of support is at. So again, if you get in at that 9 to 10 cent range and you can offload your shares at 12 cents, that's an easy 20% gain. And if you can offload them here at 16 cents, when this last little small area of consolidation was at before the breakdown, that's a 60% gain. But just like I said back on June 8th, something is brewing here. And then this breakout right here confirms what I was seeing So now we will watch for some sideways consolidation with 9 cent holding that support and try to make a safe entry for a nice breakout play here. That's probably going to happen here within a week or two. Seeing that the volume is very low and below average, which normally concurs with a consolidation pattern before a breakout. So I definitely keep an eye on ticker PLG. So again, TTMTrades, we are at 1,232 subscribers. I'm tired. Went to the beach today. About to get some sleep. But if you learned something, hit that subscribe button. And if you got a StockTwits account, find me on StockTwits and hit that follow button. But till next time, continue to trade safe and protect your accounts. And I'm out.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.